in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What a pity. Tomorrow never certain. What dwells behind the curtain? The face of evil smirking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, could either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could breach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
Hey, 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 hey. The great, great, great resignation. Have you heard of it? People are quitting their jobs. People are resigning from their jobs. Okay. They're not getting laid off. No. They're not getting fired. No. They're choosing to resign. This is something that we have some information about, at least, some stats here for America. And let's see. Let's take a sneak peek at what the great resignation has in store for us.
So far in 2021, over 4 million Americans have quit their jobs as employers rolled out their back-to-office policies, a phenomenon coined by economists as the Great Resignation. And with the mass exodus of employees and a global labor shortage, the power tides are finally turning in favor of job seekers. Needless to say, our world has changed and things will never be the same again. So then what's next? What does the future of work look like? And
Yes. So 4 million Americans in a month. Did I hear that correctly, Dr. Polymath?
Yeah, apparently 4 million people in America quit in April alone. Literally.
Okay, in April alone. Yes, in April alone. I know you were about to go on and on about something.
You caught me out there right before this talk.
It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, let's digest one piece of information at a time. Okay, so these people are quitting their job. What do you think is causing them to do this? Because, and perhaps I may just speculate, right? People found travel. People found savings that they had, but because, by the way, a particular trend that reversed itself was the amount of savings that Americans had. Not all Americans, but some of them, right? When in 2020, a lot of habits were changed and so on and so forth, and people found, perhaps I can live a comfortable life in in Mexico with this amount and do the art that I like to do. This whole getting back on the 60 freeway. Shout out to Southern California people talking freeway. We name our freeways that way. The 45. You're on the 405. Going back on the 405 or the 304 or the 90 with the 91 East, okay, back to Riverside day after day is just not the business, as they say. It's not fun. And what else could be the reasons behind it? Because they must have money is one of the premises that I kind of just laid in there. I'm like, okay, they must be having some kind of savings, and then they find a cheaper place to live. I'm saying, how are they solving the economic problem is a big part of walking out, right? You don't just walk out of a job. So any comments about this, what they're doing and how?
Yeah, 100%. I think just the whole transport thing, getting to work to and from, people don't like it. They realize, why am I going down here in the freeway and the train, or it doesn't really matter, on the traffic, and it's not a very enjoyable experience, and it takes a lot of time. Some people travel up to 3 hours a day, 1.5 hour there and back. They don't like it. It doesn't kind of seep into their soul in a way that sort of makes them encouraged to keep doing it for several decades. Another reason I think, which is probably more significant, is the fact that, like as you said, they do have some savings, because obviously with everything being closed, the only thing you can spend your money on is stuff you buy online, right? And some people actually spend money more on that kind of interactive thing that they used to spend with their friends, like going out to the pub, to some events, etc. So they saved a lot of money.
Yeah,
And I
whiskeys
think,
cost whiskeys add up.
yeah,
Yeah,
right. Especially if you buy it from a
interesting.
club.
So they're leaving these jobs. However, we know this money is not going to last them forever.
No,
Unless all of a sudden we just have a bunch of trust fund babies materializing out of nowhere.
no,
So,
that's not gonna happen.
do you think that they're pursuing entrepreneurial ends now, or is it gonna? Are they hoping to vote Andrew Yang in next time around and bring in UBI, Universal Basic Income, or are they all going to create the next killer app and be the next Mark Zuckerberg? What are their economic slash political pretensions here?
Right. I think with the UBI, I think that's really heavily linked in this whole thing. So this is our speculation, although it's more than that. They've been planning to sort of bring it up anyways. They're already testing it in several different cities around the world. Now, what I think is going to happen is that these people are going to vote for that UBI. And if Andrew Yang is smart enough, or anyone who's sort of you know, campaigning or championing this kind of thing, is they attach it to this whole great resignation and then promises people, look, you can stay at home, you can work on your art, you can work on your entrepreneurial skills, you won't have to basically be homeless, you can still survive. Now, if they can do that and they can allow them to live anywhere, not just sort of, oh, you have to stay in this state, no, that's stupid, because then some places are expensive. You might actually have some championing and just make sure that they pay the tax back to America. Then they're fine. Any money that they make from their businesses, bring the tax back to America, I think they could do well. Ultimately, I think people are ultimately, I think people are resigning because they realize that working from home is feasible. Because before, these old boomer companies told people, look, you have to be here to be productive, you have to be watched, people have to see what you're doing, etc. And that threat of them, knowing that you're watching a YouTube video. But with people working from home, they realize I can be watching a YouTube video and still working in the background. I could listen to this book while actually working. No one is judging me. I can be in my room. I don't have to be dressed except for I'm in a meeting. So why do I want to go through all the stress of looking good every single day, the makeup, the clothes, the stress, the interactions in the office with people I don't like? They're realizing it just doesn't make sense. And the jobs, instead of being open to having flexibility, a lot of them are saying, no, you got to come back in 9 to 5 every day for a week. So they're just thinking that doesn't make sense. I'm just as productive here. So bye-bye. I'm going to seek either.
Okay. So it is interesting. Okay. Something that just came to mind is the reason why offices existed in the first place. Now, if you talk about assembly lines, places where you physically need to hand part from one person to the next to build a car, so on and so forth, makes sense that you guys are lined up there. When it comes to you guys being architects, for example, working together in an architectural firm, makes sense that you guys are communicating, sitting around, and working together, if you will, sharing the knowledge, having common space, and so on and so forth, having routines. Yeah, all that makes sense. Your technology has made it such now, though, that for that architect office, a lot of that kind of flow, system, communication even can be achieved. But there's another reason why people tend to gather around, right? And how about that aspect, right? How about that aspect? How about the aspect of how about the people who like to bring the donuts on Mondays, right? And the guys who really enjoy the fact that they get to travel to the main office in Poland every year. And but the last 2 years they haven't met, their colleagues in Poland and have the drink the beer from the boot in the German bar. Or, how about that aspect of us of the coming together? Okay, we talk about the functionality aspect, the machine, the assembly line. Okay, we can replicate that by other means, but how about this other human
FE.
social need? FE, extroverted feeling. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, some people are going to miss out on that whole human experience, but we're already seeing it in shops. shops are being the shop assistants are being replaced by machines. If you go to McDonald's or a lot of these coffee shops, you'll see maybe 1 or 2 cashiers just in case things don't go right, and maybe just to physically make the products. But a lot of the self-service is being done by people and the machines. So we're already replacing that whole thing, the whole friendly face thing, this nice smile. It's good to some people, but they're realizing, well, look, money talks more than how we think people feel. People come here not to feel nice smile. They come here to eat their food. At the end of the day, if they get their food really quickly, without delays, and they don't have to keep wasting money paying people when they break their hands or legs or whatever at work, they're thinking, hey, it's a win-win. So
You
yes,
have to keep paying these slaves. They keep falling and breaking things. And,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
not good.
Not good.
However, one thing I noticed, or something that just kind of came to mind, was when we started doing the whole ATM thing, cell phones, and dial my, either having automatic computers responding to you when you call your bank, for example, or do you prefer a live person?
I prefer a live person.
Okay, now I'm the guy that always preferred an ATM or a machine on the phone, or no human contact, right? I like human contact, great, but
Right.
for the most part, I'm the guy that I'm agreeing that, first of all, I'm agreeing, right? And then there's a point. I'm agreeing that if I can get the service on time, delivered, clean, you have a nice drink water fountain over there with nice clean cups as well, right? And somebody comes in and cleans it every morning and replaces the cups, but the hall and everything is empty. Great. Okay. If the other customers are also hidden, great. However, this is a world where people like me have an advantage, or can say it's fine, let that all kind of happen.
Yeah.
But how will the other people adjust? Or will people like me now just kind of run roughshod over the rest of you guys and be like, hey, I have all kinds of advantage now. I can be productive. I don't have to see you guys anymore. I don't have to go to the stupid company after party and talk nonsense with Stella.
Yeah, 100%. So I want to clarify. ATM, I prefer ATMs to going to the bank and asking for money, right? Less human
anyways.
contact. Exactly. But the bank, the calling thing, the issue is, you might have a more complex problem, and you don't want to go to a machine that can't answer your question and then resolve the problem that you have. So you have to now try to call the person anyways. That's the only kind of issue. It's more the inconvenience of it not functioning well rather than the experience necessarily. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So if I'm making a payment, fine, make it electronic. But if it's like a slightly more complex thing, like I want to move money into a different account, and then they ask me, it just doesn't work, they don't understand my accent, it's more of the technical issues that I have with that automated system than the actual dislike of the concept. Concept is great, it's just it doesn't work so great for me all the time.
Okay, so let's get some categories out of you, okay? So here's what I mean. We have to slice this elephant, as one of my colleagues likes to say. In other words, we have to do some conceptualization. We found this elephant, we found this market, we found this big piece of rock. Let's slice it up and analyze it. So what is this concept? What is this big piece of rock? People are leaving. So we already mentioned a technological aspect, right? There is a technological component that makes it such that people can now work remotely and so on and so forth. And this may also afford them the ability to pursue certain dreams that they otherwise would not have been able to, right? So now they finally see, hey, you know what? I can finally go do X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah.
And also in that particular area, what I think happened is many people were able to peek behind the curtains of the organizations that they work for, because things were kind of it almost like the organization was exploded, right? So as the organization exploded and you got to now see, okay, we now have to set up shop in my office and this person and that person, and they kind of see the innards of the organization. Perhaps they got the confidence. First of all, they were disgusted by how ridiculous it was and perhaps inefficient and so on and so forth. But it gives them the confidence to be like, I can run this myself. I can do this, right? So so those people will be pursuing entrepreneurial ends and so on. What other categories besides this technology? What other ways can we buckets can we put this particular idea through? What are the meshes? What are the
Okay.
conceptual nets?
So another one is that we are actually reaching the next stage of human evolution. So with the Generation Z and Generation, what's the other one? Millennial, I guess.
You're not gonna just say something, all that kind of stuff. Well, we're finally reaching the next stage of what is it? Is demarcated like what, is there a calendar or is there a celebration on next day of Evolution Day? What are you talking about?
What am I talking about?
Continuum. Okay. Oh, well, it's just it's happening now. This generation right here.
Okay, so boomers, or whatever they call them, the one before, they were more focused on being conscientious, having a stable job, supporting their families, bringing money to their wives and kids, etc. Right? And that's when the women were starting to work too properly. Now, millennials sort of kind of got sold the dream that all they had to do is get a degree, like the boomers, and they would have a good job without having to kind of struggle too much. They realized, hang on, I did a stupid degree, I'm in debt. All these things doesn't make sense to me. I don't like this job. I don't like the fact that I'm working for someone else in something that does not fulfill my spirit at all. Ultimately, we're humans, right? We're physical, spiritual, and mental. So the emotional component, they're not fulfilling their spiritual, and a lot of them are not fulfilling their mental or even physical. I guess it depends. So now they're thinking, hang on, I didn't have to do this like my parents did. And what they realize is, hang on, we can actually go to the next stage where we're now doing things for our own spiritual enlightenment. People now want to do things that truly actually make them fulfilled, not just telling them, oh, career. No, beyond career. Now we're looking for fulfillment, spiritual fulfillment.
Yes. So it's almost like saying, basically, when you have food, clothing, and shelter taken care of, and
Right.
you don't have to worry about next winter because you have a sufficient storehouse, then now you can worry about what it means to be a real man, and maybe you're not worrying about craftsmanship vis-a-vis, for example, if we still stay within the economic, within the active, within the productive realm, people who want to go do something more creative, right, pursue that particular dream, or just the idea of living a free life. I get only one, YOLO, as they say. I'm going to travel, I'm going to live in, is it Bali? Is Bali one of the places that
yeah, these weirdos like to go to Bali. Yeah, these weirdos love Bali for some. I don't maybe it looks nice, the places they go, but you know what,
nice in magazines. Oh, well, it looks nice in real life.
So that's what the places they go. That's why I say the places they go, right? Because the country is not exactly a super rich country, and I'm sure they don't go around helping these people in the temples and trying to really learn the language. They go there to do their little, oh, I'm doing this or that. These are not good people.
Good. So we looked at the technological landscape, or we looked at the technological prism through the technological prism / economic prism. And now we're looking at, okay, well, in a particular stage in a society's evolution, that's why you're saying this is the stage now we've overcome food, clothing, and shelter need, the base needs on the lower end of Maslow's hierarchy, right? Basically is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
And that once those are satisfied,
tell everyone what Maslow's hierarchy is, because
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I know that everybody knows it, but Maslow's hierarchy of needs says this, basically, okay, that there's some fundamental basic things you need to take care of, okay, and then built up from that are some other needs. What are the basic fundamental needs? Oh, we know those, okay. You don't want to get eaten, okay. You want some safety, you want some clean water, you want something to eat, you want some shelter and warmth, right? We get that, okay. We don't need anybody to tell us those, so we want to take care of those first. We take care of those, and then above that comes things such as camaraderie and family, and apple pie and a country, as they say, right? And then there's self-esteem and self-actualization is at the very top. So if you imagine, okay, again, a hierarchy where just getting by and trying to eat and all those basic stuff, food, clothing, shelter, is at the bottom, and then at the top you have self-actualization. That's what Maslow's hierarchy of needs is. How did I do? That was I wasn't ready to Sharkeisha, no.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. Well done.
So
give you a cookie.
Given that, okay, when you address the bottom aspects of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, okay, because people are insatiable, want to economic principle 101, they're going to find some other thing to want to bicker about. It's going to be, oh, well, how about my soul, and how about my spirit and my happiness? Why should I be bound in this marriage after all, right? Why should I need this man, right? I can just check this box on this government form, get this particular income thing, maybe go to Bali with a laptop, and then I can survive. That kind of thing. It tends to also therefore become what people will call individualistic, because these particular needs on the top, self-actualization, has self even in it, right? It's not about you and your sister actualize, it's about yourself, the salvation of your soul from this perspective, if you will, right? So these things will push people to do things like quit their jobs. And you're saying that we're seeing perhaps now right in front of our eyes evidence of the fact that we are indeed in that kind of a society, post-industrial, shall we say, post-industrial for sure. And
we're now in the silicon age, so we've passed the bronze age. We're still in the steel age.
Went full circle.
We're now in the silicon.
However, let's get one more frame, okay? Because again, if we have technology and you look at it through it, and then you have also, shall we say, the frame of because the level of society, that the way you put it, it's also economic and technological, okay, right? Because the means by which you meet these ends, and also political in terms of like the way your society is structured as well, that'll kind of lead you to the place where people are making these kinds of decisions. Also, people tend to also have less children in these kinds of societies as well, right? So
more
people having less children, people not wanting to work, people want to take their laptop and live in Bali, people want to do things where perhaps in a derogatory manner could be seen as, again, selfish, right? So I like that. Are there any other lenses, perhaps a lens that would then maybe be an evaluating lens, a critical lens perhaps, that says, is this a good direction, a bad direction? Is it inevitable? Is there a better step coming ahead? How would this kind of congeal? Because one of the things that I've already noted is that certain people will have an advantage during this time of transition. Okay, the people who are going to be doing great, being in a little cave, okay, they're going to be killing it right now, while everyone needs to worry about mental health and so on and so forth, right?
I mean, I love the pandemic. I mean, I'm just saying out there.
Exactly. The cave, cave dwellers, us cave dwellers will do well. However, what exactly is, because here's one thing, okay, and we can end on this, but let's not get too deep, because we're talking about the Great Resignation, ladies and gentlemen, okay? The Great Resignation, 4 million people just in April quitting their jobs. We've looked at it from the technological and economic landscape, talk about universal basic income, and the pandemic also exposing many things about work that was just unpalatable. People are not going back. They don't want it. No. They're not going to take it anymore. And then also the stages of a particular society, when you're taking care of the lower rungs of Maslow, or the lower rungs of the ladder, that is, because when I just say rung without ladder, okay. Well, the lower rungs of the ladder of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, then you have to worry about other things, about the satisfaction of your soul and so on and so forth, self-actualization, those things which seem to be more individualistic. And now we're looking back and we're saying, hey, this might not be all for good from an evolutionary perspective, because this going up on Maslow's hierarchy of needs leads to less children.
Yeah. Hey,
it leads to less ties of filial ties and bonds in terms of group identity, nation building, and so on and so forth, right? And it leads to things perhaps such as the meaning crisis. One could even argue, right, that for the masses, not having structure, right, these ties are broken down and so on and so forth, that this will lead to all these problems. We just talked about from an individual perspective that these people are having having to see the psychotherapist, while the cave dwellers might be fine, right? So,
but we might reach a point where we can basically have kids without needing a man and woman. So you could just, extract eggs and sperm, and then just decide.
This is all great as far as we're moving towards that symbiotic place where we merge, the what is it called? What's that word? The singularity. Shout out to Ray Kurzweil, I believe. The singularity, when we reach the singularity, and when technology kind of gets beyond that point where we cannot even predict, the kind of exponential, and we become that machine, and we don't even know anymore what goes on beyond that horizon, that event horizon. You're saying that if that's where we're going, then it's just fine, right? Then there's no point in talking about this outmoded means of measuring success, which is fitness, reproduction, right?
Exactly.
Because again, simple thing which we just said here at the end of this conversation about the Great Resignation is that somehow we meandered our way into talking about the fact that our modern societies evolutionarily fit if they indeed cannot reproduce themselves. Because everywhere you look, when people start getting that freedom, economic, let's just call it liberal democracy, capitalism, a certain kind of modality of freedom such that the bottom rung of those things are taken care of, food, clothing, and shelter, blah, 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 all those things we've just said, that they start not having children anymore. And the societies start to break down. And we're saying maybe, okay, that's the cracking up of the egg for the technological beast to emerge. And we welcome you, our technological overlords, with well,
let's fight this demiurge.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Leave your thoughts below regarding the Great Resignation. Anyone in your life, or perhaps are you one of those people who quit your job? Are you one of the 4 million in the United States that quit their job in April alone? Okay. And what do you think about the fact that people are saying to hell with it? People are pursuing their dreams. Will they make it? How can we reconstitute? How will we re-emerge from the other side? And are you a cave dweller, or are you one of those that is in great need of the extroverted feeling of the meetings in the office and the donuts and the coffee and the warmth and the silly stories? Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We are out.